Hey, what's up guys and welcome back. First of all, if you would like to support the channel and donate to me, my PayPal would be in the description, so thank you very much. Now, I got this idea some time ago and it's time that it get released, guys. Someone wanted to see what if Naruto evolved beyond a human as we add in a bit of supernatural element, change in the world, change in many concepts, going for a more dark, twisted world, devoid of love, devoid of happiness. Having those things is a struggle. Having those things is a constant worry because you have no idea when you would lose them. If you enjoy this new concept and you want to see more of it, just comment down below and tell me you want part 2, and I'll be posting it as soon as possible for you guys to enjoy. I'll also link the other channels down in the description, so go ahead and check them all out, guys. And if you want your what if to be done by me, just comment on any of my latest posts. So let's not waste any more time. Let us begin this now, guys. The world is dead. It has been dead for some time now. That was clear to all, still residing within the elemental nation. A young man was currently sitting down, gazing down towards the scenery below him. What he was sitting down on, though, was a building. This place was once known as the Land of Fire. It's been a long time since he's seen this place. It was once his home. However, he left a long time ago. Since then, it has only been chaos and destruction. The world that everyone once knew had come to a complete stop, and it was never going to return to what it once was. It was impossible. There was nothing that could fix this. The young man that stood there, gazing down below, it wasn't too long ago that it was his birthday. He was now 18 years old. He reached upwards and removed the mask from his face. The ear had a foul stench that reached his nose immediately. Due to the filters on his mask, it never bothered him, but taking it off exposed him to the outside. His mask had the filters that protect him from the smell. His mask was pitch black. You could not see it, but there were also filters for the eyes as well. But looking from the outside, it would just seem like his mask was completely hollow and there was nothing there. His face was exposed to the world. Crystal blue eyes, 3 whisker marks on both of his cheeks, spiky blonde hair that poked out of his hood. As he was wearing all black clothing, there was a sword on his back and another one on his lower back as well, one pointing to the left and the other one string across to his lower back. He had a belt around his waist with all kind of equipments inside of it. There was a bag next to him. He was wearing dark black boots, dark pants, his jacket, a shirt underneath. He was wearing arm guards and leg guards as well, making him look like the perfect soldier, the perfect warrior as he stood there, the breeze rushing across him. He pulled down his hood as he exposed his hair. He got to his feet. The mighty village once known as Konoha, once known as the undefeatable village, due to how many wars they won in the past. He could see it from here. It was no longer safe. Completely destroyed. Almost all the buildings were toppled over. The ones that were not, well, they were rotting away. Gazing towards the Hokage's tower, the vegetation had taken over. As he gazed out below, he remembered his life in the village. How naive he was back then. Naruto Uzumaki. He was a good child growing up. A wonderful child growing up. However, the world was never wonderful to him. He left Konoha when he was 8 years old, just a small time after joining the academy. Naruto had vanished, unloved, mistreated, and forgotten. He left Konoha, planned his escape perfectly, and left within the depths of the night. He grew. As the years passed, they couldn't find him. They forgot about him, despite the great burden that he bare. Many believed that he was dead. Many believed that he was struck down. After all, he was completely gone. He knew from when he was younger that he was unwanted. The villagers stared at him like he was some kind of disease. His caretakers neglected him. The academy treated him like a joke. And beneath it all, the whispers of the demon. He was the burden. He was the mistake that Konoha never truly wanted. But he never screamed, he never cried. One night though, he slipped past the gates with a ragged coat and a dull kunai, and just like that he was gone. He vowed on that night, if the world wants nothing from me, then I will take nothing from it. He had wonder. He starved. He was robbed by bandits, beaten by missing nins, hunted by wolves. However, that never broke him. He learned. He stalked. He learned how to kill. He learned how to disappear. Years passed. He became a ghost. No one remembered the boy. No one remembered his name. He became the shadow in the bounty hunter cult. A world where there was just people trying to survive. He learned through it. There were many people along the way that aided him, but they were all gone now. Years passed. Naruto became the ghost. People heard whispers, rumors about his skills. Back then, it was still great to be a shinobi. It was still great to be a high-class bounty hunter in every single way, bringing in top-quality catch. But no one knew who he was due to his mask, his features always hidden. They did not know his real name. There was two that he took to rather well, the ghost or the hollow fan. He have to say, those names were the two that he liked out of all the others. And when he was 15 years old, it happened, the event that changed everything. Naruto gazed down below as he heard them. They were dressed in ragged, torn up clothing. Most of their insides were on the outsides. Their bodies were mutated. They were zombies, flesh-eating monsters. However, these were the lesser ones, the weaker ones. These creatures were something that were only meant to be in nightmares. But here they were, in reality. Their face and body, horrendous to look at. That foul smell that came from them. Their numbers were truly incredible. It was a normal day, a rather beautiful day, if you remember correctly. He was alone, without his mask, without his gear. He enjoyed the peaceful, wonderful environment, basking within the lush, wonderful nature when it happened. The sky, the heavens opened up. Something came crashing down to the earth. Something horrendous. It hit within the land of snow, immediately removing all snow from the area. But when this strange rock broke open, a wave emerged. A supernatural, unusual wave that changed the course of history forever. Many to this day believe that the gods had hurled the massive meteor down. to wipe out all of mankind due to the wickedness that has taken place over the many years since we walked this earth. Some believe differently, that it was the cleanser. It was a change. However, after all of these years, most of them realized they were wrong. While most stick to their hopes and dreams, most were broken. On that day when the heavens scream, it was the last day that the Shinobis felt their power. Across the elemental nation, ninjas collapse, made jutsu, seals unravel, summons, they disappear. Tail beasts went silent, as if a darkness had taken their place. An unbelievable darkness. From the crater cracking open, it was known as the Ash Plague. It spread like wild ash, spreading, infecting those that were nearby. It wasn't just death, it was far beyond death. In fact, it refused to allow you to die. It was mutations. It started with a sickness. It started with them coughing out ash. And then they lost all sense of reasons. Their skin started to turn gray. Their eyes turned foggy. Their muscles bulge. Their strength growing. They became hungry. Not for chakra though. They wanted flesh. Just like that, civilization fell. The hidden villages tried to fight. Konoha sealed their gates. The Raikage mobilizes armies. The San tried to use their poison. The Kiri tried to use their separating islands as a defense. But without chakra, their strength was nothing. Their walls broke. Their borders crushed. Their poison, it didn't affect them in the way that they thought. Jinjulikis, their tail beast silent, died alongside Genins and war heroes. It only took months for the great Shinobi world to fall. Countries became scattered ruins. Survivors either ran to the barren lands or the wetlands, trying to gain a footing, trying to survive. At the first, it was difficult, horrendously so. After all, chakra had not just vanished, it had been rewritten. Whatever force that descended from the heavens had not just replaced it. It became something else, something truly supernatural, something that you find in books, something that should be unreal, fiction, not reality. Naruto Uzumaki was snapped from his thoughts as he heard a roar, sounding almost like a scream. No, he thought to himself, they should not be here. Naruto snapped his head towards the left. You see, these monsters, they aren't just mindless as one believed. Most had come to know that you have different categories. And that made it worse for the struggling mankind that was still trying to cling on. You had the hollowed. They were the standard zombies. They travel in large pack. They react to sound, light, and also blood as well. Their goal was the swarm. Overwhelmed with their numbers, they had little to no intelligence other than following their primal instincts. That was their goal. Their bite, infected in a short amount of time. Their hive was connected by their movements. They traveled together. They destroyed together. They devoured together. It was their primal instinct, like a pack of dogs or wolf. And then you had them, the unshackles, the power type. These mutations, they devour a lot of tainted chakra blood before chakra was truly gone. Despite the humans being unable to use it in the beginning, the chakra was still in their blood. And these untainted type, they devoured. They are semi-intelligent. They're not just mindless that would simply walk into a trap. And they hunt like they were some kind of predators, often alone or in a small pack. Their bites infect you within minutes. It was fast acting. They also emit pheromones to call others nearby. Some of them also repeat the memories of the living past, traumas that lead to them screaming in a rather unpredictable way. However, it was their screech. They had this screech other than their pheromones. This screech meant nothing else but death. When they did this, they were sure of their victory. It was like they were happy, hunting and devouring you. And these type, they didn't just come in one. You had those that could crawl on walls, those that could swim, and you had the juggernauts, those that were mutated so bulgy that they were extremely hard to kill. A single swing was enough to send someone sailing like they were nothing. They can crush stone with their bare fists. That wasn't something big in the past, but nowadays, given that chakra was no longer a big thing, given that it was now gone, you can understand why that was so special. And then you had the scorchers. They release a toxic mist, a vial from their throat that could do unspeakable things to you. It could drive one crazy or burn your entire insides out. It was truly unpredictable and strange. These ones had to be burned. Yes, they had to be burned. Completely incinerate them. And then you had the leaders. A different tier. They were the leaders. The truly scariest ones. Unknowns. However, their number was a lot less. Extremely so than the others. They were beings that truly remain with their intelligence in a way. Say for example, a friend of Naruto has been turned. Say for example, which is impossible, he became a leader. He will know and understand who Naruto was. However, he would no longer be the same. His sole desire is to devour Naruto. His sole desire is to inflict the world even more. It was like all of their empathy, all of their goodness was erased, which made them the worst of worst. They control armies. They control hordes of these lesser ones. So they were the leaders, the most powerful, as they have a telepathic link to rather large nests. They can send them to do their bidding. There was a few amongst the world, as their numbers were not that large, so that was good for the survivals. They also possess some rather strange abilities. Some of them are known as the puppet masters. They can possess corpses of living beings for a brief period of time. And then you had the choir. They had a rather infected song. They can sing and affect your mind in ways that make you go insane, that make you want to rip your own ears off. These were the worst due to their long-range voice attacks. However, mankind was very crafty in that way of learning and developing over time, learning how to avoid these attacks. Many had to die for the cause, but at least they could prevent the voice attacks now. And then you had the armor ones. The leader for that one war, red armor. They were durable, strong, even stronger than the muscle ones. Due to their special armor, it was hard to pierce. Everyone believed that those were the only categories, but they were wrong. Naruto knew there was another. The final kin. The last tier. He was the only one that he believed has seen one of them. However, from what he got, there was only 3. These 3 are different. They're not monsters. They're the apex predators. With a purpose. They enjoy the silence. They are remnants. Exist within every single mind of the zombies across the elemental nation. They were stronger than the leaders, which was the most terrifying part. They became infected during the First, meteor impact. They were once humans. They evolved. Beyond the virus, it merged with their very soul, turning them into something special. Not even the leaders were this special. They were extremely rare. Naruto believed that he was the only human that were aware of them. Not even the lower tier zombies were aware. Perhaps only a few leaders were aware of them. They do not act unless they must. They may even disguise themselves as humans temporarily. Their goal is unknown. Each of them has a different ideology: conquest, extermination, assimilation. They have arrays of different abilities that Naruto did not know about. However, he remembered his run-in with one of them in the past, which cemented in his mind that they were real. Flashback. Naruto stood within the midst of at least 15 of the newborns. He eviscerated them, his blade dripping with their guts. That is when he heard clapping. Naruto snapped his head around. Believing this one to be a leader, there was no hesitation as he blitzed forward, swinging his blade. Naruto was stunned. His blade was caught with so little effort. He was backhanded to the ground. Before he could move, he was kicked in the face. He crashed into the wall. Naruto collapsed on his hands and knees, his whole body trembling from just a few hits. My. A rather fantastic blade you have here. Special, isn't it? He ran it across his own hand. Strangely enough, it was like two metal grinding against one another. "Who? What are you?" said Naruto. "Are you a leader?" he questioned. "A leader? Oh no. You haven't seen my kind before. In fact, you are the only human that has seen my kind. You can call me the final kin." The look of surprise on Naruto's face was rather visible. "Ah, you never thought something like me existed. Something more powerful than a leader. After all, your skills are quite refined." Naruto could feel it in his bones. He was going to die. He was going to die here. Naruto watched as the final kin stepped towards him and tossed his blade to the ground. Naruto was confused. "Don't worry. I'm not going to kill you." He reached up and removed the hood off his own head, exposing his face. He had two eyes that were so red it looked like they were bleeding. However, he had no mouth, just an empty face. He was at least 7 foot tall. His body was obscured by his cloak. Naruto felt it the moment he looked into those eyes. Naruto could not even rise. The sheer pressure that was coming off of this thing scared him. He's fought so many. He's even gone up against leaders. And yet, he could not stand. The final kin stepped towards Naruto and rested his hand on Naruto's shoulder. His hand was grotesque and large, the same size as Naruto's head, almost like he could just reach and pop Naruto's skull. "You are special. You intrigue us. You are the only one of your kind. No one else is like you. I'm sure that you know that by now." The final kin gazed down towards Naruto's right arm. As he looked down, his eyes curving into a smile. He removed his hand from Naruto's shoulder. "I wish you all the luck," he said. He walked away. By the time Naruto regained his bearings and spun around, the sensation finally leaving him, the final kin was gone. Naruto was 16 years old at the time, and he's never felt such fear before. He's never felt so terrified before, and since then, he hasn't seen a single one of them. In the flashback, he was the only one that knew about their kind. But what purpose did they want? They had the power to eradicate entire civilization. If he was to step into a camp, he could wipe it out by himself. So why? Why didn't they attack? Not knowing their purpose was driving Naruto crazy. He vowed to himself that he would never allow that to happen again, that he would never freeze up like that again. However, remembering what he said, Naruto gazed down toward his own hand, and covered it with his other hand though. He rose to his feet. The sound that was just heard was from the second tier. It was the one that spewed that disgust and vile from its mouth. However, it usually is never seen in these areas, surrounded by the newborns. So that was rather strange. He didn't quite understand. Naruto raced to find out what was going on, grabbing his bag as he moved from building to building. The final kin was right about something. Naruto wasn't normal. In no sense of the word. After all, while many lost their chakra, he also lost his chakra as well, but something happened to him, which changed him. A few minutes earlier, Konoha, strangely enough, was one of the first to be overrun. As the things that travel within the Fire Nation, they could not be stopped. The other villages, due to their destination, it made it harder for them. But Konoha was swarmed. Many had to evacuate. However, during war times, there was many weapons that were kept underground. Many equipments due to the tunnels under the village. It's been years, and those weapons were left untouched. Perhaps a bit rusty now, but still usable. They were needed. There were also other equipments down there. There were also food down there as well. However, those would have probably gone bad. The seals that preserved them were no longer usable. But there were bars, protein bars, things that would be needed for them. They've tried for years, but the village has been swarmed. But as the time passed by, the newborns have been spreading out, circumventing throughout the land of fire, moving towards other regions due to the lack of flesh in the vicinity. Time after time again, scouts were sent. Today was supposed to be the day. A team was brought together under the leadership that once hailed within the village of the Hidden Leaf. However, so much had changed. Things were just crazy now. Those that did not even originate anywhere near the leaf was fighting as if they were a part of it. But there was no such thing as the leaf anymore. There was no such thing as the San or Sound or any other nation. It was just the humans and their survival rate. A specialized team was sent. A young man with brown shaggy hair, a tooth peeking out of his upper lip, dressed in armor that was silk enough for his hands and legs. He needed mobility. His name was Kiba Inuzaka. He was once a powerful, brash member of the Inuzaka clan, with his favorite puppy by his side, Akamaru. However, Akamaru was taken away from him. Kiba was a proud member of the Inuzaka clan, possessing rather great traits. Over the years, he had learned how to rely on these traits without specialized influence like Chakra. His senses were top-notch, so he was needed for this mission. They couldn't afford to send a large party for multiple reasons. If this went badly, they would be losing a lot of their forces. Secondly, they need to keep this as small as possible. If there was any chance of breakouts, they need to ensure that their team was less visible. Alongside them was Hinata Hyuga, once a shy, timid girl, now a very silent, ruthless individual. She had to watch as her younger sister was ripped apart in front of her eyes. The once pronounced Byakugan eyes could now only see what the normal eyes could see, with a few special quirks. Perhaps it was due to the biological difference of them having Genkai, but she could almost sense through her eyes. It was strange, abnormal. Her sight was still good and needed for this mission. Even though their chakra was gone, there were certain traits that still ingrained in people's instincts that had been festering over the years, which made them special. They couldn't afford to risk many of her kind because they were indeed special. You then had another girl. Her name was Sakura Haruno. You had the armor around her, her arms and legs. The boots that she was wearing and the gloves that she was wearing were special, trained. Her fists were deadly. There were spikes within her boots, within her gloves as well. Her eyes were always showing sadness. Perhaps at the loss of so many. Perhaps at this broken world, but every single one of these people have been through hell and back. All of them. 18, some above. They were sent on the mission along with 2 others. A man known as Yamato, once the wielder of a powerful Genkai, no longer though. Yamato was a survivor, a builder, a worker, and due to his training in the past, he was perfect for a mission like this, the assassination type. And you had a rather large individual. He hailed from the village once known as Kumo. He was burly, massive. He was needed. He and others like him were the very fine crop that was needed for what was going on. He had a sword on his back, a sword that once belonged to Zabuza Momochi, a powerful member of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen. He was a pupil of Zabuza, taught. The sword was passed on to him after a rather tragic event that led to Zabuza's death. His strength was immaculate, able to cut a zombie in half with just a single swing. The team was ready. It was their job to sneak in and evacuate as much as they could. Little by little they would do this. If necessary, others would be there to relieve them. Step in. They venture out, each member having been on missions together before, so they were quite used to one another. The young man from Kumo was named Renji. As he made his way, he gazed around. The sword was strapped to his back. The team moved through the foliage. There was so many grass. Yamato was the one given, in charge of this mission, with Sakura being the one right underneath him. The team made their way. Things were going well, until it wasn't. Something abnormal happened, something strange. It was them. They weren't supposed to be in these areas. It was a power type. They spent months to get this close. A power type being here was something that threw the entire plan off. The one to see him was Hinata, signaling to the others. Damn it. Yamato cursed under his breath, they were so close. Sakura looked towards them, understanding what must be done. She knew these things had to get back. The equipments were needed, otherwise they would be wiped out sooner than later. I'll draw its attention. Kiba snapped towards her. Are you crazy? You'll die. You can't fight that alone. At least no. I am second in command, and I'm going to do this. Yamato-sensei, she said. You are needed to lead the rest of them. You can't take this risk. All of you are special in your own way for this mission. And these equipments, they need to get back. Otherwise, we will be wiped out sooner than later. So I will stay back and draw its attention. And you guys go, she said, knowing that the only way for them to get by was her staying back. Because if that thing were to screech, every single standard zombie within the vicinity would overwhelm them. Renji was powerful, they were all able to defend themselves, but the numbers were just too much. You see, the power types were smart, to the point that Kiba wasn't even able to smell it, because the scent that it gave off was blending into the environment. Not even someone like Renji could fight it alone. They could perhaps take it on if it was 2 or 3 of them, because you could never truly know the ability that it possessed. That was how smart they were. They did not show it outward. Well, the muscle ones were different, but that toxin in their throat, or their ability to use that strange poison that mist through the area, they were also different. None of them could pass without it noticing. The moment they reach close enough, it will know that they were there. The only option was to go around and attract it, because looking at it right now, it was not going to move. They were given specific orders to get as close as possible, and Sakura saw it. It was the only way. They were low, and they needed these equipments, otherwise so many more would die. So if it meant her giving up her life, she wouldn't hesitate. She and many others has lost so much that everything seemed bleak to them. Some believed that survival was actually impossible, some even going as far as to claim their own life. Kiba was against this, violently so, until Yamato stepped in. Yamato knew that something had to be done. However, he wasn't about to stand by and allow Sakura to die. Over the years, he's watched her grow into a wonderful person in many different ways, despite the hardships and struggles, the things that she's accomplished. Unfortunately though, the power type started to scream for no reason. Shocking all of them, it snapped its head towards them. Impossible. They were so far away. It started to leap from building to building. Speed that once Shinobis possess. It moved like a flash, blitzing towards them. Sakura realized that it was coming ahead. She immediately ran away from the group. Kiba tried to follow her, but she punched him in the face, launching him back to them. "Go!" she shouted. She fired 3 kunais. It stuck in its shoulder. The power type turned towards her, and it seemed to smile. It leaped after her. Its wail and screaming caused the others. Kiba tried to go after her, but Yamato stopped him. "If you go now, you will just be throwing her sacrifice away. We have to move." He didn't want things to go this way, but Sakura was already. She was already set to make her move. Her mind was already set. None of them expected this. They saw a few standard up ahead. Renji pulled his blade in rage as he moved. They slice, they tear, they cut, ripping through the enemy, tearing through them. Kiba had tears in his eyes. There was a whole nother reason for that, beyond just simple friendship. They made their way towards the area. Renji used his blade to prop it up. They ripped it off. They jumped down below. The massive sealed doors that kept it in check. Due to the lack of chakra, the seals were no longer a problem, and they found them. But even though they came at this victory, they also lost someone important. Hinata remained silent, the pain inside of her making her feel so numb. All of them were going through it, but they had to move. There were other tunnels, but they were blocked from the other side. They believed that they could have taken the way to break through them with dynamites. However, due to the goddamn event that just took place, the noise would attract them, so they had to go back out. However, they then heard it. A violent explosion. They knew what happened. Sakura must have taken down a lot of them, along with herself. Kiba turned and slammed his fist into the wall, causing his hand to bleed in rage. Yamato placed a hand on his shoulder as Kiba fight the rage off. Unfortunately, though, they didn't have time. She sacrificed herself for them to get these. Each member carried as much as they could. Moving back, they opened the hatch, Hinata gazed outwards, as she did not see anyone. As the team ventured out, all of their hearts stopped. A power type was right on the side of the building, looking at them. Renji dashed forward to kill it. Quickly he tried, but it screeched, allowing a horde to run towards them. The power type jumped over Renji and landed on the other side. This was bad. They found themselves surrounded. It was only one. Two of them in one place. It was just so random. None of this made true sense. They either travel in packs of 4 or by themselves. They were peculiar that way. This doesn't make any sense. Her death was for nothing then. Kiba pulled out some rather strange blades. As he placed them on his hands like claws, they were curved. He placed them on, ready to fight. Hinata, draw 2 tontos, swirling them in her hands. Yamato, he proceeded to pull a spear off his back. Renji held his blade. They were all ready to fight. That was until, boom! An explosion cracked the ground, in the distance allowing many of the standard to fall inside. The power type turned its head, only to see its head removed. They were shocked, extremely so. None of them could understand. Who was that? Hey, a voice said. Kiba's eyes widened as they all turned to see Sakura. She was alive. We have to move now, come on, she said, shouting at them. They immediately started to move. How is this possible? We thought. No time to explain, she said. Kiba was happy, immensely so. However, Sakura herself was shocked that she was still alive. What just happened perplexed her. Moments ago, she was surrounded. The power type was amused by her resilience. She used the blades to slash at their throat, removing their heads, crushing their heads, destroying the standard ones. The power type simply stood there observing her, amused by her resilience. It was about to kill her. She pulled out the explosives that she had. Come on, she said. If I'm going down, I'm taking you all with me. She was ready to go down, ready to die for her people. As she lit the fuse, the power type leaped. It opened its mouth. However, its head was removed. She was shocked as the explosives were grabbed from her hand and thrown. She was covered by the cloak, the explosives wiping out all the standards that were running towards her. Sakura was shocked. She gazed up towards the empty face, just a black mass. She heard the rumors. She heard about the wandering ghosts. The description fit him rather well. Dressed in black, stepped from the shadows. The man that was not bound to reality. She believed that many was exaggerating, but he came out of nowhere. Are you alright? His voice, so soothing and calm. Yes, she said. It's been a long time since. She didn't have to be strong. But this person, taller than her, as he held her in his embrace, there was something about him. Well then, let's move, he said. They're coming. Seems like your friends are not out of the blue just yet. Her mind quickly snapped back in play. We have to save them. He showed no objection to saving them. Just, who was this guy? End of flashback, and that is how she was alive. She couldn't explain it. As they ran, they saw another one. Another power type. Renji swung his blade, but the thing skipped off his blade and stuck out its tongue. It was one of those. Hinata reached for the explosive as she threw one of the dynamites upwards, blowing its arm off. However, it stuck its tongue out and reached into her bag, pulling out the remains. It missed her. It was aiming to slice through her throat, but Renji had pulled her arm, saving her life. All of the contents of her bag fell open, including the explosives that were in there. However, as it was airborne, Naruto crashed into its back, stabbing it through the chest and pulling upwards, cutting it in half, kicking it away. The moment he landed, the ground burst open. The standards, they traveled underground. It was a good thing that the underground tunnels were reinforced with steel. They simply went around it. Naruto fell right in a pit of them. Hinata, she was grabbed by Renji and thrown upwards. As he fell, being much larger, the ground gave out. Yamato and the others had jumped, but he chose to save Hinata. She wanted to scream out to him. However, he landed on Naruto's hand, by Naruto's will. Using strength that shocked the others, Naruto threw him up. Renji was a rather large guy, so this was shocking. Unfortunately though, the contents of Hinata's bag fell into the hole as well. The earlier explosion, the flames had hit the ground. Sakura saw it. "Watch out!" she shouted at him. Naruto spun around. Unfortunately though, it was too late. The roll of explosives, the dynamites, there was so much of them, exploded right in his face. An explosion so large that it completely eviscerated all of the standards. They were all wiped away just like that, blown apart. All of them stood on the high platform, gazing downwards. "Damn it," Sakura said. She wanted him to survive. Yamato gazed downwards as he noticed the movements had completely stopped. Hinata's eyes observed everything. None of the standards were moving. "He's there," she said. They jumped down. The place was so quiet, which was strange. It was like they were the only ones around. And they saw him. Naruto was in pieces, arms and legs. He was destroyed. He was gone. Sakura clenched her fists. Hinata felt horrible. It was her mistake. The words did not come from her lips though. No one blamed her. They knew it was a mistake. It was that thing. His mask was strangely still secured on his face. It wasn't broke or anything. However, you could see his flesh as his clothing was torn. You could also see the blonde hair. But all of a sudden, movement started to be seen. Their weapons rose. However, it wasn't a standard. It wasn't a normal. It was him. All of them stood there in confusion, unable to truly fathom and understand what they were actually seeing at the moment. Strange black and red tentacles erupted from his limbs, where his limbs once were, and stabbed into his hand. They were all quiet as they watched. His limbs were pulled back together. The chunks of flesh that were there were replaced with strange black goo that seeped out of him and started to slowly mimic human flesh until it was human flesh. The tentacles shot from his neck and gripped his head, pulling it back together. Little by little, his body was pulled back together. There was a reason why that unknown zombie told Naruto that he wasn't like his kind. Flashback. He was okay with this. Naruto was bitten on his arm at least 4 to 5 times. He was new to this. It was just a couple of months after the outbreak. He was saving the life of a young girl, and he was bitten. Naruto stood at the edge of a mountain gazing downwards. The fall would surely kill him, split his head open or something. In a few minutes, he would be turned. However, he was okay with this for some reason. Why, he wasn't really sure. Perhaps he was not suited for this world. The world had changed so much. Bounty hunting was gone. Rogue ninjas were gone. That was something that he tied his purpose to. Nothing else and nothing more. As Naruto countdown in his mind, he spread his arms, expecting to feel that fever then trigger, and he would throw himself off. And Naruto felt it. No hesitation, he threw himself off. As he started to reflect in his mind about those that he met, those that he knew, people that would no longer see him again, people that he would miss. However, Naruto snapped his eyes open. His eyes became blood red. As he twisted mid-air, Naruto hit the ground with a boom, shattering it underneath his feet. Naruto looked at his hands, the strange virus pulsating through him. What's going? Naruto started to rage out. He slammed his fist into the wall, cracking it. He beat his head into the ground. He pulled himself towards the water. As he fell in it, trying to cool himself down, he felt like he was on fire. However, he blacked out. By the time Naruto woke up, he was on a beach somewhere. As he looked down towards his feet, a standard was gnawing at his flesh. With one hand, Naruto crushed its skull, shocked by what he just did. He watched and looked around, confused how he was still alive. Shocked, not quite understanding. From that day on, Naruto learned that he was special. When that rare zombie had told him that he was unlike the others, Naruto first believed that he was one of them. But he was not. He was something else. He didn't know why, but he could feel it. The bite. It did not turn him. However, there were some problems that came with a bite. While he did survive, the side effect was awful. There was a reason why Naruto did not stay in one place for too long. Unfortunately though, as we skip to the original time, Renji was carrying the unconscious Naruto. Despite being returned back to normal, he was bound and they were carrying him. He wasn't awake. Kiba had protested against this. This was a stupid idea. He was a monster like them. However, Sakura questioned him. Which others has he ever seen pull himself together like that? She demanded to know. He had nothing to say. This person saved her. Not to mention she believed that he was the one that they called the ghost. He believed that it was just a legend that people spoke about. Someone that was strong and fast, like what they were in the past. Someone that moved from location to location. The humans could really use him on their side, but many believe that it was just a myth that people spoke about to give others hope. However, removing his mask showed that he was a 18 to 19-year-old boy. But it was the marks on his face. It plagued Sakura and Hinata. Even Kiba found them familiar. It was like they've seen this face before. The overall face was different and much older, but the marks looked so familiar, but they simply could not recall it. Renji was the one carrying Naruto while the others carry as much as they could. Renji also carrying a lot of the equipment as well. They had to stop, resting for the night. Hinata wanted to thank Renji for saving her life. She never had the opportunity to earlier. As the others rest, Naruto was showing no sign of waking up. He was still asleep. They checked his pulse and everything. He was human. His heart was beating normally. Nothing seemed to be different about him. But he was just not waking up. They would bring him back, restrain him though, keep him somewhere away from the populace until they can understand more about what was going on. But for now, they would keep him restrained and locked up. Time skip. Naruto was bound where he was. Massive chains. They tied him to the ground. They kept him confined to the room. His hands were cuffed as well, to ensure there would be no funny business after he woke up. However, he was still sleeping. However, Naruto was having a dream of a memory. A memory that made him understood that there was 3 of the final kin. Flashback. Naruto was almost 17 years old, as he was currently standing within a pool. A literal pool. There was so much of them around him. Naruto's body was covered in their fluid. His eyes were glowing red. As he was barehanded, no weapons. His mask was off. Saliva was dripping down his face. However, his attention was drawn by 2 people. At least he thought they were people at first. Look what we have here. The voice spoke. This one had a mouth. It also possessed a rather feminine figure, but cloaked by the black cloak, similar to the other one. Naruto snapped his gaze to the other one. This one only had ears. As Naruto recalled the first final kin that only possessed eyes, the feminine one only had a mouth, while the other one to the left only had ears. They were all as big as the other one. Powerful. However, things were different now. Naruto was different now. As he stepped forward, the feminine kin stepped forward. There is no need to be afraid. We are not here to kill you, she said. Her words reaching him despite the distance. She spoke so quietly, yet it was so loud. Besides, if we wanted you dead, you would have been dead already. The one with the ears spoke right at Naruto's ears. Naruto froze up. It's been over a year since his first encounter. However, this speed was startling to him. The one with the ears was now standing behind Naruto. A moment ago he was in front of him. Naruto's eyes slowly started to return back to normal. I told you that he was special, the feminine one said, stepping forward. I guess you weren't the only one that was correct. The one with the ears spoke up. As he stepped towards Naruto. What are you? Said Naruto. You can call us a final kin, she said to him. There are 3 of us though. You met the other one before, haven't you? You're the ones behind all of this, aren't you? Said Naruto. Controlling these vile creatures. Hey now, I wouldn't go and speak about them like that. The one with the ears spoke up. After all, you're more similar than you know. I am nothing like you things. Are you so sure? The feminine one said, stepping forward. We've seen what you've done. We know what you are now. And you intrigue us. That is why you're not dead yet. After all, it is not often that we step into the light. But we found you rather curious. Naruto reached down and picked up his blade. You think, just because you're stronger than me, I would hesitate to cut you down, he said, leaping forward and swinging his blade towards her. However, he hit nothing. As she placed her hand on his back. Calm down, she said. We're not here to fight. However, making an example is something else. Before Naruto could rebuttal, he was hit across the face and sent through a building. However, he ripped himself out, his eyes glowing red. But by the time that he emerged, they were gone. He tried to find them, but he was unable to. Naruto snapped his eyes open. As we skip back to reality, he was bound and chained. The movements of the chain alerted others. Damn it. Naruto cursed under his breath. He was not supposed to be here. He was fully aware that he would be blown to pieces. He was fully aware that he would not die. He allowed it to happen because it would eliminate the horde that was right there, to ensure that the others would get away safe. After all, the human species was a dying one. Saving as many as he could was a good thing. But instead, they stuck around and they decided to save him. He did not need their saving, and now they brought him in here. There was a problem though. Being blown apart, it triggered one of these side effects of him being what he is right now. Footsteps could be heard as they were notified that Naruto was awake. When Naruto glanced upwards, it seems that the veiled memory was still on his mind, as he saw the feminine final kin in front of him, but he shook his head. Instead, it was a blonde woman with amber eyes. Her name was Senju Tsunade. She was the last Senju within the world, and she was a part of the big regime. So you're finally awake. Listen to me. You have to release me, Naruto said, looking down as he struggled. Not against the chains, but against something else. I'm afraid I can't do that, because you might be the one that helped us end this all. You don't understand what you're doing. Let me understand then. I want to know who you... Tsunade was caught off guard as he ripped his arms out, literally shattered the chains. Nowadays, that was incredibly difficult. Before she could say something else, he grabbed the bars between them and pulled, ripping the hinges out of the wall. He threw it. However, 2 spears were launched towards him, 2 of the guards behind her. They had strange machines that fire special kunai spears. One slammed into his chest, another one in his shoulder. However, Naruto ripped them out. He blitzed. Tsunade tried to move, but he slammed her in the wall. She grabbed his face, trying to push him off. The other 2 draw for their blade and swing. However, they were thrown back. Something had grabbed them. Tsunade looked horrified as Naruto leaned down to rip into her neck, but he stopped himself. He threw himself into the wall, breaking through it. As she collapsed down to the ground, shocked by what just happened, but she immediately pulled herself back together. Naruto ran down the base, looking around as he finally picked up on it. Naruto slammed his fist into the wall, again and again and again and again until he broke through. Naruto entered in a room. Petrified individuals were in there. They were well protected. Chain and bound was one of the power types. Naruto jumped forward. They all ran away as Naruto started tearing it apart with his mouth. He was eating it. They were shocked and petrified. Tsunade rushed towards an open hole in the wall, followed by others, as Naruto was devouring it. He spoke about the side effects of being what he is right now, and this was one of the bigger ones. He had to feed. He dropped the remains down to the ground. As the others raised their weapons, he turned and faced them, his blood-red eyes gazing towards them, sending fear down their spine. But guys, the end episode right here. If you're interested in this and you want to see part 2, just go ahead and comment down below and tell me, and I'll be posting part 2 as soon as possible, guys. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.